The scariest part of collapse isn't that it happens fast, it's that it looks normal until the very last moment. You go to work, you buy coffee, you scroll through recovery headlines, then one morning the system you trusted is gone, and history has repeated itself again. They all thought they had time. Rome in 410, France in 1940, the Soviet Union in 1991, each looked unshakable right up until the exact week it wasn't T. That's how collapse actually arrives, not as a sunset, but as a lights out. One day the currency still spends, the army still salutes, the headlines still soothe. The next, confidence snap sand systems fail together. Look around 2025 America. Record debt costs, brittle banks, a public that trusts almost nothing. We've told ourselves we've been through worse so many times it sounds like policy. But history doesn't grade on sentiment. It measures leverage and belief. When belief breaks, math takes over. Allies hedge, markets reprice, institutions wobble. Your normal vanity. If the pattern is real and it has repeated, then the only question that matters isn't could it happen here? It's what fails first when confidence finally gives way. History doesn't repeat word for word, but it does rhyme in rhythm. And that rhythm has a name, the Confidence Cascade Pattern. Every empire, from Rome to Washington, passes through 6 predictable phases before it breaks. Each phase feels manageable until the next one detonates. Phase 1, denial. The warning signs are visible: debt, division, decay. But leaders insist it's temporary. We've seen worse, they say. People want to believe them. Phase 2, credibility break. A shock event shatters reputation, a military defeat, a failed promise, a market crash. The illusion of control dissolves. Phase 3, the cascade. Confidence collapses across systems, currency, markets, allies, citizens. What once moved slowly now accelerates by the hour. Phase 4, fragmentation. The empire turns inward. Regions, classes, or agencies stop obeying orders. Unity becomes a slogan instead of a fact. Phase 5, freefall. Currency devalues, jobs vanish, law weakens, and survival replaces policy. The middle class disappears into history books. Phase 6, reset. A new order rises from the wreckage. Different flag, different currency, same human pattern. Each empire walks this path at its own pace, but modern ones move faster because digital systems spread panic at the speed of Wi-Fi. The question for 2025 isn't whether America is in the pattern at which phase we've already crossed. Case A, Rome, for 1088, centuries of glory vanished in 3 days. The eternal city, untouched for generations, fell not by battle, but by bankruptcy. Rome had bribed its enemies twice, paying in gold it didn't have. The third time, the treasury was empty. Slaves opened the gates, and Alaric's Visigoths poured in. Temples burned, nobles ransomed, the myth of invincibility died. The leading indicator wasn't the invasion, it was the moment Rome could no longer pay for peace. When the currency fails, the empire follows. Case B, France, 1940. The most advanced army in Europe, backed by the famed Maginot Line, lasted 6 weeks. Germany didn't fight head-on, it went around. Within days, communications collapsed, troops deserted, and the government fled. Parisians watched tanks roll down the boulevards that, a month earlier, had hosted victory parades. The leading indicator came before the war: France's blind faith in fixed defenses. The enemy adapted. The system didn't. Case C, Soviet Union, 1991. A superpower with 30,000 nuclear warheads imploded without a shot fired. The coup failed, soldiers refused orders, and the republics walked away, one by one. The ruble, hyperinflated savings, evaporated. The leading indicator wasn't the coup, was the silent collapse of obedience. When the army stopped believing in the state ceased to exist. 3 collapses, 3 warning signs. When a nation can't pay, can't adapt, or can't command, loyalty collapse isn't coming. It's already begun. So where are we now? Every chart, every headline, every whisper from Wall Street points to the same uncomfortable truth. The United States has crossed from denial into phase 2, the credibility break. The moment when reputation stops being an asset and starts being a liability. The numbers alone tell the story. Federal debt has pierced $38 trillion, an all-time high. Washington now spends over $7 trillion a year, with almost $1 trillion of that going just to interest payments. Inflation sits near 3%, but wages aren't keeping pace. Unemployment hovers at 4.3%, yet the real strain hides in underemployment and layoffs in white-collar sectors. The 10-year Treasury yield is over 4%, and banks are sitting on $395 billion in unrealized bond losses. Meanwhile, the total money supply, M2, keeps climbing $22.2 trillion and counting. On the global stage, the US dollar still holds about 58% of foreign reserve share. But that dominance is eroding quietly as trade blocs like BRICS settle more oil and goods outside the greenback. Confidence hasn't collapsed. But cracks are spreading faster than officials admit. The defenders of the system say, look, CPI is under control, jobs are steady, markets are fine. That's true on paper. But Rome looked fine when its temples were still standing. The problem isn't the numbers we see, it's the fragility beneath them. When a government pays interest with borrowed money, when debt grows faster than GDP, when political trust falls to record lows, confidence is already leaking out of the dam. And when confidence leaks, collapse doesn't wait for permission. History gives us the pattern. Math gives us the timeline. When confidence cracks, everything connected to it begins to cascade first, silently, then violently. For America, that cascade could unfold in 3 possible paths. Base case, the slow burn, 1 to 24 months. Inflation stabilizes around 3%. The Fed holds rates higher for longer. Bank portfolios still carry hundreds of billions in unrealized losses, forcing tighter credit. Small businesses struggle for loans. Layoffs creep upward. Markets fluctuate but avoid panic. It feels like stability till someone realizes that stable just means stuck. Liquidity dries up slowly, like oxygen leaving a room. Bear case, the fiscal spiral. Debt service hits $1 trillion a year and keeps climbing. Investors demand higher yields. The 10-year Treasury spikes, interest payments consume defense budgets and social programs. Washington faces an impossible choice: print, default, or slash. Any move triggers recession, market shock, or both. Allies start hedging away from the dollar. Confidence slides from cautious to critical. Tail risk, the confidence event. A sudden external trigger: conflict in Taiwan, a debt ceiling failure, or a contested election reps. Within days, global markets dumped treasuries. The dollar dives, energy prices soar, and the Fed can't restore order without sacrificing either inflation or solvency. What was once a theoretical cascade becomes kinetic. And here's how it unravels in sequence. Liquidity gives credit, gives jobs, gives society, money tightens, lending stops, businesses cut payrolls, communities fracture under pressure. Social trust evaporates. That's not speculation, that's the mechanical order of collapse repeated since Rome. The difference is speed. In the digital age, confidence doesn't bleed out, it detonates. Empires collapse on headlines, but people collapse on habits. You can't stop the pattern, but you can decide how much of it reaches your doorstep. When confidence cracks, survival isn't about prediction, it's about preparation. Here are 5 protection moves anyone can start today. Build a real cash runway. Keep at least 3 to 6 months of liquid funds split between insured deposits and short-term treasuries. Know exactly what your bank's FDIC coverage is. Assume delays will happen when you most need access. Fix your rate exposure. If you carry debt, lock it at fixed rates now. When the cascade accelerates, variable loans can double overnight. Rome fell faster than interest caps adjust. Simplify your essentials. Have 30 to 60 days of key supplies: medicine, documents, food, water, backups. In every collapse, logistics die before law does. Diversify income streams. If all your cash flow depends on one employer or one platform, you're leveraged to the system itself. Create side-channel service work, remote skills, small online business, anything that keeps oxygen flowing when the main line fails. Keep a trusted circle. Collapses aren't survived by loners, they're survived by communities. Know your neighbors. Trade favors now. Trust becomes the new currency when money stops working. And here are 5 early warning lights to track before panic hits. A sudden spike in 10-year yields. Bank losses rising in FDIC reports. Dollar reserve share sliding quarter after quarter. inflation rising faster than wages, interest payments on debt overtaking core federal spending. You don't need to fear collapse. You just need to recognize that systems fail, but discipline endures. When empires fall, it's never just governments that collapse. It's assumptions. The assumption that tomorrow will look like today, that your savings will still buy groceries, that the rules will still matter. But history's message is simple. Systems die when belief does. Rome didn't lose because it ran out of soldiers. It lost because the people stopped believing the legion would show up. France didn't lose because of tanks. It lost because leadership froze. The Soviet Union didn't lose to an enemy. It lost to apathy and math. Today, America's not Rome or France or the USSR, but the same equation still rules. Confidence gives credibility, gives currency, gives cohesion. Break the first and the rest unravel like thread. So, look at your world through that lens. What's solid and what only looks solid because everyone says so? What do you truly control when the headlines turn? Here's your question to close. If the next decade splits into two paths, a slow decline you can prepare for, or B, sudden collapse that no one sees coming, which do you think we're already in? And which one are you ready for? This video is for educational purposes only and represents historical and analytical commentary, not financial advice. No prediction here is certain, and no strategy fits everyone. The goal is awareness, because awareness is the first layer of defense. If this breakdown helped you see the bigger pattern, here's what to do next. Comment below. Do you believe America's future is A, a slow managed decline, or B, a fast cascading collapse? Your answers shape the next investigation. Subscribe to Rewind Power, because when the headlines turn chaotic, history becomes your survival manual. And stay tuned for the next episode. The Currency Trap. How the dollar became the empire's Achilles heel. History's not warning us for entertainment. It's giving us a mirror, and right now, it's reflecting